Hello there and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I am Victor Matthias. Now, the planned and now suspension of the RUGA settlement by the federal government may have drawn various reactions from the Nigerian populace. While some have argued that the plan was a good one, others say the rejection was as a result of how vague the concept was. This edition of the program will look at historical antecedents of such programs and also look at how climatic conditions has caused drought and food shortages on the lands and regions that would have been used for the settlements, and how also technology can be used to reduce that threat to the barest minimum. But before we do that, let's take a look at the trending topics on the social media in the past week.
The Supreme Court delivered its verdict on the Osun gubernatorial election after judgments by the Election Petition Tribunal and Court of Appeal were challenged by the main candidates in the election. Candidate of the APC, Gboyega Oyetola, was affirmed winner by the Apex Court. Nigerians called for the resignation of a lawmaker after a video emerged from the CCTV footage of a sex toy shop in the nation's capital, where he was seen to be assaulting a woman. The senator has since apologized for his actions and has been called in for questioning by the Nigeria police.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends in the past week. But joining us now to look at the topic of the day, we have Ayodele Adio. He is the managing editor of the Avalon newspapers. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And we also have Amade Koyabola Dale, a political scientist as well as a political commentator. Thanks as well for joining us on the program.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. We also have joining us via Skype Ali Isa from Kano in northwest Nigeria. He is a member of the Follow the Money. Thanks for joining us on the program as well today.
Thank you so much.
Very well, you're welcome. But let me come back to you guys. I'm in the studio to get this conversation started for us. I mean, there's been a lot of, talk here and there about this program that the federal government has now suspended. But before now, was there any form, was there any form of such, so to speak, gazetted, maybe not passed? Did it start now, basically?
It depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about the RUGA policy,
yeah, of course.
I think it started 2 months ago with the Ministry of Agriculture. And of course, the uproar was largely because, first of all, people did not understand what the word RUGA meant. If you looked at the Google Trends, in fact, yesterday it showed that RUGA was the most searched word on Google in Nigeria. 5,000 searches were done. Secondly, and most annoyingly, was the fact that the vice president had spent 2 years building consensus around the country, right from the time there was a crisis in Taraba when he was acting president. Since 2017 up until January 2019, when the NEC approved the National Livestock Transformation Plan, which was supposed to start with compensating victims of the farmers' herders crisis and then move up a few stages gradually to the point where the full plan was going to be implemented. In fact, that committee is technically headed by Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi State. So there was a lot of buying in that program. And then all of a sudden, we slept and woke up, and then there was RUGA, which people had no idea what it was about. And hence the hysteria that you saw that greeted the policy.
Yeah, so I mean, apart from the fact that, people, like he said, people just didn't understand what the RUGA program is all about. What else was the reason behind the hysteria? Again, let me borrow from his words.
Well, it is glaring. If you look at the whole ideology behind the RUGA of farmer or herdsmen settlement, people have reasons to be concerned because, most importantly, if you look at it from the historical antecedents of the ethnic groups in Nigeria, and if you wake up one morning and people are telling you they want to set up a settlement of majorly Fulani herdsmen within your locality. If you look at, for us in the southwest, if you look at historically how we fought through the Fulani war when the issue of the Afonja started, even in the north as well, there was Madafodio in the north as well, So to a large extent, I was listening to one of your commentator on the Sunrise Daily. I think it was 2 days ago. Dr. Umaru is a Fulani man. He's an historian, and he said clearly. And Chimbali asked him a question that: is it true that Fulanis are known to dominate any region there? And he said yes. He said they are conquerors. So to a large extent, also you feel a kind of a setback for people when you're telling them you are bringing people who have been known to be conquerors into your territory to stay, to live there. They say they want to build schools, they want to build hospitals. So that means you are bringing the kind of a community.
But those buildings are supposed to be under the national transformation, the livestock transformation plan.
It's at a stage in the livestock transformation plan, they were going to get to the ranching stage, where you are going to have a few, of those social amenities built around ranches to provide care, for the cattle and for the herders themselves, around that cluster. And, like he said, talking about historical antecedent, the Southeast, for instance, has just 3% or a little more of total land mass in Nigeria. They're not going to cede more land for that because they don't have enough land. More than 70% of the land mass is resident in the North. So you have more land mass in a section of the country. And so the other section of the country feel like, you're coming to encroach into the one that we're still trying to manage, down here. So I think largely the policy was not carefully thought through, firstly. And secondly, they didn't take the time and the energy to try and build enough consensus around the country to educate people what the plan was about and to educate people about the benefits of that plan. They just woke up one morning and wanted to run a policy through people without, nobody knew the benefits.
All right, so, I mean, of course, in the plan, they also talked about border communities.
Yes.
Yeah, so speaking about, let me bring in Ali Issa, who is joining us from Kano. Ali, thanks for, of course, being on the show all this while. So, I mean, the whole RUGA settlement and the livestock transformation plan, border communities are have been, cited or touted as one of those areas where this this plan will take off from. But let's even look at it now from another perspective, looking at the fact that climatic conditions are changing, and perhaps how. Let me just start by asking, how fertile are these lands in the first place?
Thank you very much for having me on the program.
Of course.
Yeah, you found out that in the 70s now and across 80s, if you read the historical background of mostly the parents and our grandparents, you found out that even in our own local areas, most of the borders communities now, there wasn't this report of so much desert encroachment. But if you
All right, it seems we're losing Alisa due to, of course, poor internet, which is one of the things that we're suffering, in the country. I mean, poor internet. But I was, apart from, going to ask him, how fertile these places are as a result of climatic conditions and all of that. I mean, how can technology come in this place? How can we use technology to, try and settle these issues?
I think you've put your finger right on the button, and that's the kind of conversation we should be having because Nigeria has about 20 million cattle, as I said, 20 million cattle. How much of beef do we export? Have you checked the last figure? We don't even export beef majorly outside this country. Take Brazil, for instance, that did 1.6 million metric tons of beef last year, earning them over $7 billion from the beef market. So what you expect is a group of governors thinking strategically and saying, okay, this is an asset for us. We have all of this cattle. What do we do with it? Nobody's thinking of setting meat processing plants or factories in northern Nigeria or setting up slaughterhouses. Mind you, slaughterhouses and meat processing factories employ about 500,000 workers in the United States of America. So it's a huge opportunity to create jobs for your people back home. Nobody's thinking about, we just want to be rooted in antiquity, to be moving cattle around the country without raising productivity at the end of the day. So what people need to start looking strategically is, okay, how can I create wealth from this cattle that we have, one? Secondly, what are the value additions to it? There is milk, there is hides and skin. How do we extract all of the value from this cattle thing, rather than stick the debate around give me your land or not give me your land? I think it's a bit backward. And I think we need to move the debate forward into raising the productivity And I mean, there's going to be 9, 10 billion people by 2050 who have to be fed. And we have to play in that market and see how we can export food to these communities. And I just remember talking about technology now. Namibia and Switzerland, Swaziland, I think, in Africa, already have traceability systems where they can track down their cattle from everywhere in the country. African countries. So why are we not doing the same?
How do we implement that? I mean, but how do we implement that in our own system?
You see, let me start by saying that the whole ideology behind RUGA is ill-conceived. I see it as a more or less like a shakedown, like a ransom that the federal government is trying to pay to Fulani herdsmen.
A ransom?
Ransom, yes, and I will explain. 2 years ago, like he said, this was not part of the plan. But all of a sudden, because there was a herdsmen farmers clash, federal government thought there is a way they can. You don't deal with people who are who are wreaking havoc on your country. You don't try to pally them. Individuals like that, you deal with them decisively to show you are in control. Federal government has no business in cattle in Fulani herdsmen's settlement. What they should do is like you telling Lagos State. The federal government telling Lagos State, okay, let's say Lagos State is known for fishing, and they are telling us that federal government want to be involved in fishing in Lagos State. Federal government has no business involved in fishing in Lagos State. That is the duty of this Lagos State government. What northern governors should do, and I'll say this brings up to the issue of restructuring as well. You see, when some group of governors know that at the end of the day they can go to Abuja every month to get free fund, to get free money as allocation, they will rather do nothing. And that's the problem we're having. If there's a $7 billion industry in beef in the north, and the governors do not deem it fit to properly invest in that sector, they do not deem it fit also to properly ensure that people are that sector is enhanced, then definitely you don't blame the people. The federal government does not get. We don't waste our 12 billion on that area.
Let me bring back Ali Issa, who is joining us, of course, from Skype in Kano. Ali, thanks again for joining back. Earlier, and you were talking about some form of historical antecedents and all of that. But if you may continue, we can hear you loud and clear now.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, like, there's just so much desert encouragement in most part of the north, but that still is not a justification for, let's say, not for us not to have cattle ranches over here. But what I want people to comment on all this is that this climatic conditions is what brought mostly this migration from this like the northern part of the country for the herdsmen to move down south. But even Kano State alone can accommodate all the herdsmen that we have in Nigeria. And all what I've been saying is that people should look at the historical, like the economic benefit of it, not even apart from the security. Because the first thing about the security is if these herdsmen are settled in one particular place, like in the RUGA, you are going to have identity. You are going to see, or you are going to know who is living in one settlement or the other. So there's going to be identity for them, because majority of them that I came across with, they don't have voters card, they are not even aware of national ID card. And most of them, they are not even aware of government presence. They only listen to their leaders, and those leaders now, when this crisis started, like all this issue of banditry, the leaders cannot even control that anymore. We have had several instances where the Mieti Allah chairman has come out and said that they have talked to these boys, these people that are causing the crisis, and they are no more in control of them, because most of those that are perpetrating this crisis, they have lost their cattle. So what I'm saying is that when this issue of this RUGA settlement is done, it's going to sanitize the whole nomadic process in Nigeria. Apart from the herdsmen having identity, then you'll be able to pinpoint and know who are the criminals from who are the real herdsmen and who are the criminals. Then apart from that, also going to modernize all these the veterinary services, because most of these herdsmen that move around with cattle, there are cattle that normally used to have these health problems, and we consume beef that is not even certified by any veterinarian. Then apart from that, we can even look at legislation whereby it's going to help when it comes to education and development, because when you have the number out of school children definitely is going to drop. Most of the children that move around the cattle are going to be settled in one particular settlement, and be able to go to school. So
But
in this case,
Alisa, let me
of
come in. I mean, if you say Kano State can, host all the herdsmen in the north, I mean, do you see that happening? Do you see all the herdsmen in the country, moving just to Kano State?
Yeah, in Kano State now we have like forests, like the Falgore forest now. Even when there was crisis that started earlier, the governor made mention of that okay, the herdsmen can relocate to Kano, and it's something that we do have the forest and we do have the land and we have everything. So that can accommodate this and those herdsmen and
Yeah, yeah.
all the. And if you look at it now, it's a $1 billion industry. Most of these herdsmen are millionaires, but they don't even know they are, and the government is not even collecting any tax from them. So, like putting them together at one place, the government will be able to generate revenue, and it's going to bring employment to so many people. Because the dairy products, if you look at, apart from the beef, there is going to be the milk, the cheese, like the manure. So many things can just come in,
All right.
and the government benefits so much from that.
I mean, Alisa was explaining, he kind of told the same line with you, talking about, what can come out, from this industry, apart from, the money. But now, talking about technology again, he talked about the fact that they don't have identity cards, so they're not even identifiable. And that one could be, attributed to the fact that the porosity of our borders. So if we bring in technology back now, again, talking about identity, managing their identities, which, like we all have identity cards and all of that, that would be easily, would be an easy way to track them, tax them, but what do you think about that? I mean, how do you see us doing that?
I think I'm tired of
and
hearing.
Also elections.
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing this thing about the porosity of our borders, because it sounds like a sovereign nation is giving up its territorial integrity with the silly excuse every single time that my borders are porous. I mean, every single day we mount it on the newspaper, generals, police officers, as if it's it's some cheeky thing to say that your borders are porous and nothing has been done about it. So guns and everything can go through your borders and run down your country, and you can't do anything about it. Having said that, I just said to you that even smaller African countries have built traceability systems where they can track every single cattle in their country. As I speak to you now,
how do we implement that in Nigeria?
I mean, the moment that there is a will to move away from antiquity, the fact that, because the debate is domiciled in the fact that we want to move cattle around, right? The debate needs to move from that to looking at this industry as a global $70 billion industry and say, okay, how can I profit from this industry? And how can my research institutes across the country add value to the growth and development of the beef industry in the country? The moment you do that, you have intelligent young men in Yaba, Lagos, who will build you incredible technology.
In Yabacon Valley.
For you to, Yabacon Valley, for you to be able to track some of these things down. So the conversation, like he rightfully said, is that you have a group of leaders who only look forward to the next elections and lack very, very, very grand vision. Because I cannot understand how in the world you're going to have all of that investment in your region. And do you know that there's an international cattle market in Megatere, in Jigawa State, in Kano? In Jigawa, sorry, where you have cattle coming in from the Sahel, whether it's Mali, Niger, Chad, and they come there. It's a big party.
Do we tax
to sell
that market?
That's the question I'm telling you. People just come in, move. In fact, people come all the way from Lagos to buy. You see them, they load trucks of cattle and move it down south. In fact, I dare say that the 20 million cattle that people say we have in Nigeria, I don't think we have up to that amount, because a lot of the cattle that feeds the abattoirs in Lagos come from Megatere market. They come from Adwa market in Katsina. And these markets are dominated by cattle from regional countries who come in there to sell. So we're not even sure how much cattle that we have. So what we need to do is to look at this thing and look at the economic angle of it and have governors sit up and create wealth for their people. This idea of sending people to Abuja every single month. Sir, 36 economic advisors of governors every single month, financial officers, the brain box of government, go to Abuja every month, not to discuss economic policy, but to pick up checks. That has to change.
Well, I hope that changes in the nearest future. But, Balada, let me come to you now. Now that the federal government has suspended this program, where should the discussion, what should be the next step?
So first, I am not happy with the word suspended. I think it's lame. I think what the federal government should do is to tell us that that project is cancelled. And I will explain. ShopRite gets the beef you buy at ShopRite at the Kene in Ogun State. Now the issue is this. ShopRite, the people in the Kene, they are not telling Nigerians, or they've never questioned Nigerians or bother us with how they are raising their cattle. So that's the problem also we're having across the country. I feel concerned that if we have excess money, excess funds, we do not see the need to put it into other sectors of the country. First, $1 billion, one of the $1 billion industry is telecommunications and ICT development. Are you telling me that Nigeria cannot have a fiber optic? We've been trying to have a fiber optics cable across this country.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you that is similar to the RUGA plan. I will explain.
Quickly,
yeah. The federal government says that all lands, according to the land user, belongs to the state government. The right of way, that is also been an hindrance to telecommunications from having fiber optics across this country, is also owned by the state government. Now, if you feel that you can appeal to state government to release lands for RUGA settlement, why can't you appeal to state government also to also ignore or compensate the right of way as well, to ensure that there's fiber optics across this country? Do you know number of investment, billions of dollars Nigerians can get across this, instead of having a RUGA settlement in Kano and Kaduna? Let's have ICT centers in Kano and Kaduna. Let people learn.
Let's hope that comes to place anytime soon and quickly, of course. But Alisa, I mean, I was going to come to you also on the fact of how we can use technology to fix this problem. Can you give us maybe a rundown on that quickly? All right, I have to say thank you for joining us on the program. Alisa, you joined us from Kano via Skype. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on the program with us today. Guys, again, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, it was quite a very robust discussion. Hopefully, this thing will come to an end anytime soon. But again, thanks for joining us today on the program. Well, that's where we are. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with the movie videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Please stay with us.
Why should cattle become a problem just because we like to eat beef?
We begin this week's top 5 videos with the stern warning by Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka against the now suspended RUGA settlement by the federal government.
Ranching has got to be done in places which are environmentally congenial to that particular kind of trade, and at the same time do not afflict humanity.
It is followed by the pipeline fire at the Ijegun area of Lagos State. Third spot sees a senator asking for forgiveness after he was caught on camera assaulting a woman in an adult shop in Abuja.
I personally apologize to Bibra and her family for my actions. No matter what you did to me, you don't deserve such treatment. I am sorry.
Honorable Tony Okechukwu, Deputy Minority Leader, Honorable General Minority Whip.
The rowdy session in the House of Representatives over the appointment of principal officers comes in second place.
Mr. Speaker.
While we warn all state governors that stand against the implementation of the RUGA initiative to desist and give peace a chance,
while the most watched video is the threat by a northern group to governors who refuse the suspended RUGA policy of the federal government.
As the Fulani would not be allowed to enjoy their citizens' right of living and flourishing in any part of this country, including the south, no one should also expect us to allow any southerner to enjoy the same in northern Nigeria.
And that's the program this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Matthias, but let's keep the conversation going by the social media addresses showing on your screen. Bye for now.